Hello everyone, I'm Sera Turhan. Welcome to our presentation. Today we will compare the cultural differences between Germany and Mexico. Our focus is on how culture influences communication, leadership and negotiation in both countries. So here you can see the structure of our presentation. We will first start by giving you a short introduction to each country, and then we will present you the three theoretical models: Hofstede's cultural dimensions, the onion model, and also Hall's model of communication. And after that, we will apply these theories to compare Germany and Mexico in real-life business situations, including leadership styles and communication patterns. But before we begin, let's briefly introduce ourselves.
My name is Gürkan Karaman.
I'm Sera Turhan.
My name is Lotta Häusler.
My name is Eduardo Cuellar.
And as you can see, we are an international group with diverse backgrounds, including German, Turkish, and Mexican perspectives. And this also helped us to reflect critically on the cultural differences between both countries. So now Eduardo will start by giving you a contextualization of both countries.
Yes, here Eduardo again. And moving on to Germany, as we know, Germany is part of Eastern Europe. Its capital is Berlin, with a population of around 83 million people. What's the language of Germany? What could it be? German. Government is democratic and a federal parliamentary republic. And the strongest industries: automotive, mechanical engineering, chemical, and electrical industry. When it comes to Mexico, it's in North America, with having Mexico City as its capital, with a population of around 130 million people. We speak Spanish. Our government is a federal republic, and the strongest industries is as well automotive, electronics, outer space, and oil and gas.
My name is Gürkan Karaman, and I would like to start with the theoretical part, starting with Hofstede. Hofstede developed the model of 6 dimensions to compare cultures across 6 dimensions. These are based on research originally conducted at IBM in the 1970s. Let's have a look at these key 6 dimensions. The first one is power distance. Here, the question is how much inequality is accepted in this country. The second dimension is individualism compared with collectivism. Is the focus more on I or on we? This is the question here. Following that, we have masculinity versus femininity. Here, Hofstede answers the question, what motivates people in their life, success or quality of life? Following up, we have uncertainty avoidance. How comfortable are people with ambiguity? Long-term versus short-term orientation focuses on traditions. Is it valued or future goals? Last but not least, we have indulgence versus restraint. And here the question is, can people freely enjoy life? Here we have a look again at the 6 dimensions and the questions which are answered in those dimensions. Let's move on to the onion model. The onion diagrams are a visual tool to with multiple layers to show a culture's different aspects, with the outer layer being symbols, followed by heroes, rituals, and at its core, obviously, the core values. This model was also introduced by Hofstede and other authors. Last but not least, in the theories, we have the Hall theory or Hall model of communication. Edward Hall's theory especially focused on how people communicate and organize their daily life. Key aspects here include high context versus low context communication, monochronic versus polychronic time orientation, and last but not least, use of space and personal distance. With these 3 models, we will mainly focus on Hofstede's theory, but also use the insights from a house model and from the onion model. Now I would like to give my word to Lotta so we can start applying those theories.
Thank you, Gürkan. So in this part of the presentation, I will go through all of the 6 Hofstede's cultural dimensions and compare Germany and Mexico. And for each one, I'll give you a quick definition, show the scores, and offer some possible interpretations of what those scores suggest, especially in business and everyday work life. So let's begin with the first dimension, which is power distance. And power distance is about how much people in a culture accept unequal distribution of power. And Germany scores 35 here, which is relatively low, and this could suggest that people tend to prefer equality and expect to be involved in decision making, and leaders might be seen more as equals than authority figures. And in contrast, we have Mexico, which scores 81, and based on this, you could assume that hierarchies are more expected and respected as well, and leaders may be expected to give clear directions rather than involve employees in every step. So in a business context, this could influence how teams are structured or how comfortable employees are with giving feedback to their managers. And next we have individualism, and individualism looks at whether people see themselves more as an individual or as part of a group. And Germany scores 67, and that's on the higher end. And this might indicate that independence and personal goals are important values. And people may focus on individual achievements and expect to make decisions for themselves. And Mexico scores 30, which suggests more a collectivist culture. And we can assume that group loyalty plays a stronger role, and decisions are often made with the group in the back of their mind. And in practice, this could influence communication styles. For example, Germans may speak more directly about their own views, while Mexicans might focus more on harmony or shared interests in general. The third dimension is masculinity. And masculinity is about how much a culture values competition, achievement, and success. And both countries score rather high here, Germany with 66 and Mexico with 69. And that suggests that both cultures value performance and results. And however, even with similar scores, the way this shows up in daily life could differ. For example, Germany might express it in a more structured, career-oriented way, while Mexico might be, in Mexico, it might be more connected to recognition or the social image. And this as well is just one possible interpretation. Again, it really depends on the situation. Next, we have uncertainty avoidance. And uncertainty avoidance looks at how comfortable people are with change. And Germany scores 65, which could point to a preference for rules and structure. And people might feel more comfortable when processes are clear and well organized. And Mexico scores even higher with 82, so it could suggest an even stronger emotional need for clarity. In both daily life and business, this could mean people prefer followed procedures and tend to avoid unpredictable situations. For example, last-minute changes or vague instructions might create more stress in a high uncertainty avoidance culture. And next is long-term orientation. And this dimension, this dimension shows whether people focus more on the future or on the present. And Germany has a high score of 83. And a possible interpretation could be that Germans value long-term planning, perseverance, and adaptability, and they might be willing to invest in future outcomes, even if short-term rewards are delayed. And Mexico, on the other hand, scores 24, which is really low, and this might suggest a stronger focus on tradition and short-term benefits, and people may value quick results and fulfilling social obligations more than planning far ahead. And this could lead to different priorities in negotiation or planning situations. And the last dimension is indulgence. And indulgence measures how freely people allow themselves to enjoy life and express their emotions. And Mexico here scores very high with 97. And we might interpret this as a culture where enjoying life and expressing emotions and celebrating openly are widely accepted. And Germany scores, in contrast, only 40, which could point to a more restrained culture, and people might place more value on self-discipline and be less likely to express emotions in public. So in a work setting, expectations about work-life balance or emotional expression might be quite different. So in conclusion, what can we take away from this comparison? Germany and Mexico show big differences in several dimensions, especially in power distance, individualism, long-term orientation, and indulgence. And of course, it's important to remember that these scores don't define individuals, and a score of 35 doesn't necessarily mean that every German avoids hierarchy. It just suggests a cultural tendency. And also, many behaviors are shaped by more than one dimension at the same time. For example, leadership is not only about power distance, but also about uncertainty avoidance and individualism. And Eduardo and Sera will go more into detail about that in their parts. So thank you. That is it from my side. And now Gürkan will continue.
Thank you, Lotta. I am Gürkan Karaman, and I will show you the results for the onion model. Starting with Germany, let's first have a look at the outer layers, the symbols. Obviously, German is the spoken language, as Eduardo already highlighted that. And formal manner and that especially in official settings are what Germany is known for, especially with the points that Lotta highlighted just right now. Besides that, we have national symbols like the German flag, black, red, and gold, traditional dresses like Lederhosen or Dirndl, especially during Oktoberfest season, and the eagle emblem, obviously. Then we have also German cars, which are really popular around the globe, like BMW or Mercedes-Benz. Beer is well known. Germany is well known for beer. Sorry. Bread is also globally recognized as a cultural symbol. Now, heading a little bit deeper into the onion model, we have our heroes. So people who also define Germany with their values and how they act. And historical figures such as Johann Wolfgang von Goethe or Albert Einstein represent that intellectual and innovative part of Germany as one of the heroes. And then we also have cultural icons such as engineers or scientists who also represent that expertise that Germany is well known for. Let's move on into the more inner layers, rituals and core values. Starting with rituals, we have, first of all, formal greetings like handshakes, eye contact, and the use of professional titles are really important in Germany. Yes, and then we also have things like planning and preparation and celebration and holidays, season, things like that. And these are all things that Germany is really known for. And last but not least, looking at the innermost core of Germany, we have order, punctuality, reliability, efficiency, and strong work ethics. So all things that define Germany with their values and also represent how Germany in general acts. Here I can only repeat the parts that Lotta previously just said, that it's just a model to give a direction. Now let's head into the onion model for Mexico. And here at the outer layers for symbols, we have obviously language again. Spanish is the spoken and expressive language of Spain and Mexico. Sorry, not Spain, just Mexico. And here tones and gesture and gesticulatation are really prominent. Then we have national symbols like the Mexican flag. Here we have the colors green, white, and red. Mariachi music, traditional clothing like sombreros and huipils, and also again the eagle as in Germany, but here the eagle eating a snake as the emblem from the Aztec legends. Mexico is really known for its food culture and customs, and we here have tacos, mole, tamales. These are all iconic things. bright colors and music are also a really big part of their celebrations in general. Heading into heroes, we have historical figures like Benito Juarez and Frida Kahlo, who represent resistance, identity, and creativity. Besides that, we also have religious figures who are prominent in Mexico's culture, like the Virgin of Guadalupe. And we have cultural icons like family matriarchs, traditional dancers, and artisans who preserve folk culture. Now let's head even more deeper into the onion model for Mexico too, starting with rituals and celebrations like Dia de los Muertos, quinceañeras are really well known, but also in greetings, physical affection is really common. Handshakes, cheek kisses, and even hugs are really prominent in Mexico. There are also religious practices, as I mentioned, like Dia de los Muertos or Day of the Dead would be in English, Las Posadas, and weekly church attendances. And we also have respectful language uses like formal titles, for example, Señor or Señora, or Don or Dona, which signal social awareness. In the innermost core value, they have familismo, which means that they have a strong emphasis on family loyalty, respect, just human decency that they value, personal relationships based on trust and connection, and these are also values for them. Collectivism, sorry for the little mishap. This means that they are really strong together in a group. And last but not least, flexibility. They have a really great attitude towards flexibility, especially for time and change. Yeah, now I would like to give over to Sera for the Holt's model of communication.
Yes, thank you, Gürkan. So Sera Turhan here again. Let's take a closer look at Hall's model of high context and low context communication. So Hall explained that in some cultures, the context around the message is just as important as the words themselves. And in others, people communicate more directly and the words carry the full meaning. So let's see what this looks like in Germany and in Mexico. So Germany is a low context culture, which means that communication is direct, clear, and explicit. People say exactly what they mean, and they expect others to do the same. So there's little room for interpretation or emotional reading between the lines. And in Mexico, in contrast, is a high context culture. So here the meaning of a message depends strongly on the situation, tone, relationship, and body language. And communication tends to be more indirect, and people often avoid saying no directly to preserve harmony. Building trust and understanding through personal contact is more important than written words here. And you can also see in Germany, in the area of time orientation, it is a monochronic culture, which means that they really do value punctuality. And in Mexico, on the other hand, they are polychronic, which means they are more flexible, people focused. Again, they value relationships here. And lastly, looking at personal space. So Germany has large distances and formal touch rules, which means that they're generally more distant and, for example, in a business context, more professional. And in Mexico, they have a closer distance and they will really value trust here. So this gets reflected. This also means, like, again, they value relationships a lot here. Yes, so let's move on. So now I want to move on with the application of the theories. The first example will be for communication and negotiation. So we will apply all of the three models now to this situation in the business matter. So yes, before we go into the specific behaviors, let's look at the cultural scores. So these will be essential for both applications. And Lotta has already done that, but let's just summarize it and apply it to the situation. So Mexico has high power distance, low individualism, and high uncertainty avoidance. So again, this means structure is very important and people accept hierarchy. And Germany, in contrast, the scores are high on individualism and long-term orientation and much lower on the power distance. And this shows that they value equality, planning, and independence. So we can already see that these deep cultural values described by Hofstede will affect how people act in meetings. And now let's look into detail. So let's first start with communication. In Mexico, the verbal communication tends to be indirect and polite, and this is also typical for high context culture. So it's not just what is said, but also how and when it is said. And in Germany, it's more direct. And this also fits again with Hofstede's individualism score and also Hart's low context classification. Non-verbal communication is also different. Mexicans tend to use more expressive gestures, and also this shows that symbolic communication from the outer layer of the onion model is here more important, and Germans are more reserved and keep the distance, as I already said in the whole model. At interruptions and turn taking, which is very common in meetings. In Mexico, interrupting is seen as showing involvement. And also this fits with a collectivist and high context culture. On the other hand, in Germany, this would be seen as very rude because structure and rules are really important in this culture due to higher uncertainty avoidance. And finally, we also see a contrast in emotions. Mexicans express feelings openly, and they see this as a sign of honesty. And in Germany, the scores are very low on indulgence, so emotions are often controlled to stay professional. Again, we can explain these behaviors by using the Hofstede dimensions. So let's move on with negotiation behavior. In Mexico, business people often use storytelling and personal examples. And in Hall's high context culture, stories help to build trust. On the other hand, in Germany, arguments are expected to be logical and based on data. This is typical for low context, individualist, and masculine cultures. And when it comes to building trust, in Mexico, trust grows through personal connection. This reflects the core value in the onion model. And in Germany, trust is built through competence and results, again, reflecting Hofstede's individualism and masculinity. Decision-making is also very different in both countries. So in Mexico, it's influenced by hierarchy and emotions, and this makes sense given by the high power distance. In Germany, decisions are more analytical and involve input from different team members because the power distance is much lower. So finally, we see that meeting structures reflect cultural values. Mexicans are more flexible and relationship-oriented, while Germans are punctual and stick to a clear agenda, which reflects their high uncertainty avoidance and also the long-term orientation. So now Eduardo will move on with the second example for today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sera. Yeah, just exactly as you mentioned, now I'm going to explain some applied examples of these three theories into leadership and hierarchy. First of all, moving in leadership, it's really important to consider that for this area, power distance and individualism play a major role. Let's remember that power distance in Mexico is way too high. It's around 80, which differs a lot with Germany. Also, when it comes to individualism, Germany is mostly an individual society, and Mexicans are more based on collectivism. On that note, when it comes to decision making, managers are usually the ones who make the decisions. They do not consult their team, and Mexicans are expected just to follow those rules. So yeah, team members wait for instructions, do not provide feedback or do not question, and yeah, they are trying to not go into disagreements. It's important also to take leadership as a paternal figure, so you expect them exactly to tell you what to do, but also to to have trust on your leader, and in a certain way feel protected, because that's like your authority. When it comes to German society, usually leaders involve the team. Usually they ask for some input, for some feedback into the making decisions. It's totally correct for employees to speak openly about what they're feeling or what they're not. And leadership relationships are usually more professional and respectful. They are usually based about performance, about expertise, and not so much into emotions as Mexicans will do. Now, in this next slide, I will continue talking a bit more about this topic. Can you help me out, guys? Yeah, okay. When it comes to employee autonomy, okay, thank you. When it comes to employee autonomy, trust, and leaders' communication style, again, Mexico is a pretty collectivistic society, so there's not really much autonomy. You just expect what to do. You get clear instructions and you go and do it. While in Germany, being an individualistic society, people rather prefer to work independently and to provide ideas, and they just know what to do, and they do it their way. Leaders' communication style, yes, in Mexico, leader will tell you what to do. However, the leader will be really careful to be diplomatic, to maintain harmony. So in a certain way, they will not be as direct and as clear as it will be with the German leader. As I mentioned, now based on onion model, trust very important for Mexican societies. Emotions take a huge part on how well you work with your team and how much you respect your leader. So it's very important to build trust and to build trust with your team. Now moving on about hierarchy. This is pretty much similar to the leadership part. Can you guys help me out? Thank you. So challenging authority, that in Mexico could be considered as a sin. It's really rare to question your superiors. This will be considered as disrespectful, as that you are not valuing their authority. While in Germany, this is totally acceptable. Of course, you will have to do it in a respectfully and logical way and reasoning. The use of formalities, as Gürkan mentioned, titles and formal pronouns are really used. So you have to call the person by their title, but also if someone is older than you have to call them señor, señora, don, doña. In Germany, this is also used. However, this is not as biblical as it will be in Mexico. The chain of command, yeah, in Mexico there are clear hierarchies and they have to be followed. So, for example, if you want to contact the general manager, you have to go through several steps and through several people to be able to do that. While in Germany, it will be more common to have direct access to a higher level person. Can you help me out, guys? Thank you. So level of dependence of the boss. By this moment, I'm pretty sure you already know that Mexicans kind of see their leader as a parent. So yeah, the dependence is high. You have to ask for approval for even minor decisions. You have to be very tactical with the way you approach them. Yeah, while in Germany is quite the opposite. Distribution of power, as the power distance index exemplifies. In Mexico is pretty much centralized at the top. Decisions flow downward, while in Germany power is more distributed. The status is pretty much important for Mexican society. the titles, the age, and the social background, it's a pretty big influence. While in Germany, status is based on your professional expertise and your contribution to the team. On that note, as we see, we have clear differences into these two societies. So how can we avoid misunderstandings? Well, when it comes to hierarchy, it's important, if you're a German in a Mexican environment, just to respect the visible hierarchies. While if you're a Mexican in a German environment, just try to be more open and feel confident enough to share ideas. When it comes to the leadership styles, it's important to align these leadership expectations. So if you are German in Mexico, just try to be open that that leaders are more strict, let's just say it like that, and also Mexican leaders should combine authority with a lot of empathy. While in German, they have to promote independence and delegation. Individualism versus collectivism. It's important that if you're in German, in Mexico, to invest in team spirit and loyalty. Building up relationships is pretty much important for Mexicans. While if you're a Mexican in Germany, try to emphasize in your personal accountability in your actions and try to be independent. As I mentioned, trust is pretty important to Mexicans. So yeah, if you're a German, just go for it. And if you're a Mexican, don't be afraid to tell the things directly. Well, on that note, we developed a small conclusion with some, let's just say, with a short strategy for each aspect. So it all could be defined as just adapt your style. When it comes to communication, be direct and be clear with Germans. With Mexicans, try to be more warm and respectful. When it comes to negotiation, always use data, always use facts to structure an argument with Germany. In Mexico, taking notice that relationships or flexibility are everything for us. In leadership, be participative with Germans and be firm and supportive with Mexicans. With hierarchy, promote equality, and in Mexico, just follow clear hierarchies structures. We can see that Mexico and Germany have a very distinct cultural profiles, but we are sure that with the right strategies, this difference can become strengths in international business, and we all can get something from this great multiculturalism. So that will be it from our presentation. We thank you so much for your time. And here we're going to present all of our references, which are quite a lot. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.